Marcus Aurelius never met you. He died in 180 AD. He never saw your city, never saw your phone, never saw the world you live in. And yet, he described you perfectly. Not generally, not philosophically, specifically. The way you avoid the hard thing, the way you tell yourself you will start tomorrow, the way you perform discipline without building it, the way you know exactly what you should do and find 1,000 quiet reasons not to do it. He wrote about all of it in a private journal, never meant to be published, never meant to be read. Which means he wasn't performing wisdom. He was wrestling with the same failures you're wrestling with right now. And what he wrote in those pages is the most honest, most confrontational, most personally addressed document in the history of human thought. This is not a history lesson. This is a mirror. And most men are not ready for what they see in it. Chapter 1. Who Marcus Aurelius actually was. Most people know the name. Few people know the weight behind it. Marcus Aurelius was Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth for nearly 2 decades, commander of the largest army in the known world, responsible for millions of lives, facing constant war, plague, betrayal, and the slow collapse of an empire. He had every reason to become corrupt, every reason to become comfortable, every reason to stop holding himself to any standard at all. Power does that to men, it always has. But every morning, before the empire demanded anything from him, Marcus Aurelius sat alone and wrote. Not orders, not strategy, not speeches for his citizens. He wrote to himself about his failures, his laziness, his tendency to avoid difficulty, his moments of weakness that nobody else would ever see. He called this work Meditations, and he never intended anyone else to read it. This is what makes it different from every other piece of wisdom ever written. It was not written to impress, not written to teach, not written to build a legacy. It was written by a man holding himself accountable to a standard he kept falling short of and refusing to stop trying. That man, the most powerful person alive, was fighting the exact same internal war you're fighting. It's a question for you. If the most powerful man in history had to hold himself accountable every single morning, what does that say about the man who doesn't? Chapter 2. The first thing he called you out on. Open the Meditations to almost any page, and within a few lines, you will find yourself. Marcus wrote, At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. Not as someone waiting to feel ready, not as someone who needs the right conditions, not as someone whose morning routine needs to be perfect first. As a human being, with a function, with a purpose, with something that needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. He wrote this about himself because he struggled with it. The Emperor of Rome, lying in bed, negotiating with himself about getting up. And he called himself out for it. Not gently, not with self-compassion language, with the cold clarity of a man who knew exactly what he was doing and refused to pretend otherwise. Now ask yourself, how many mornings have you done the same negotiation? How many times have you told yourself you'll start after the right conditions arrive? Marcus Aurelius answered that question 2,000 years ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The condition you are waiting for will never arrive, because the condition was never the problem. You were. Chapter 3. The second thing he called you out on. Daniel sits in his apartment. He has a plan, a clear one. He knows exactly what needs to happen. But today, he finds himself busy with everything except that plan. Emails, cleaning, research, preparation. All of it feels productive. All of it feels necessary. None of it is the thing. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this man specifically. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Never beginning to live, not dying young, not failing dramatically, never beginning. The man who is always preparing, always getting ready, always one more thing away from starting the real work. Marcus watched men like this in his court every day. Brilliant men, capable men, men with every resource available to them, who spent their entire lives adjacent to their potential without ever stepping into it. And he refused to become one of them. He wrote to himself, "Do not indulge in such thoughts as, 'I will live to do this.' Get right down to business at once. Not when the moment is right, not when you feel prepared, not after one more video, one more book, one more planning session. At once." Because Marcus understood something most men never learn. The preparation is not leading to the beginning. The preparation is the avoidance. It's another question for you. What is the thing you are always one step away from beginning? Chapter 4. The one that hits hardest. This is the entry most men cannot read without feeling exposed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." 5 words that dismantle an entire industry. The self-improvement industry, the motivation content, the endless consumption of wisdom without application. Every video you have watched about discipline, every book you have read about Stoicism, every podcast about morning routines and mental strength, none of it has changed you, unless you acted on it. And Marcus knew this. He watched men around him consume philosophy, like entertainment, discuss virtue, like sport, argue about the nature of the good life while living nothing close to it. He had no patience for it, because he understood that knowing what a good man does and being a good man are separated by one thing only: action, not insight, not understanding, not another layer of philosophical awareness. Action. The man who watches this video nods at every point, feels the truth of every line, and then closes his laptop and does exactly what he did yesterday. That man has learned nothing. Marcus Aurelius would not be impressed by how much you understand. He would only be interested in what you do. Chapter 5. What he said about the men around you. Marcus Aurelius lived in a court full of people performing virtue, politicians, generals, philosophers, all of them talking about honor, discipline, and the right way to live. Almost none of them living it. He wrote about this with visible frustration. Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. He watched men compromise themselves daily, for comfort, for approval, for safety, for the same reasons men compromise themselves today. And then he turned the observation on himself. This is what separates the meditations from everything else. Marcus never used his observations about other men's failures as a reason to feel superior. He used them as a mirror. Every weakness he identified in the men around him, he immediately asked, "Where am I doing this?" This is the Stoic practice of self-examination, not judgment of others. Ruthless, honest examination of yourself. The men around you are performing success, performing discipline, performing growth. The question Marcus Aurelius would ask you right now: are you performing, or are you actually doing it? The man Marcus Aurelius was trying to build. Daniel wakes up. No negotiation this time. He sits at his desk, opens the work, not because he feels ready, not because conditions are perfect, because he has read what Marcus Aurelius wrote and understood, truly understood, that the Emperor of Rome did not feel ready either, and showed up anyway, every single day, for 20 years. Daniel does not have 20 years of practice. He has today. But today, he does not argue about what a disciplined man should be. He is one. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but actually. He works on the thing he has been avoiding. He sends the email he has been postponing. He begins the project that has been waiting. Not because Marcus Aurelius inspired him, because Marcus Aurelius called him out. And he finally had the honesty to admit that every line written in that private journal was written about him. And that admission, quiet, private, completely unglamorous, is where everything changes. Not in the motivation, not in the understanding, in the action that follows. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, leading his army, still working, still holding himself accountable, still reaching for the standard. He never stopped writing. He never stopped examining himself. He never decided he had arrived at the version of himself that required no more work. He wrote near the end of the Meditations, "Confine yourself to the present. Not the version of yourself you were last year, not the version you plan to become next month. The present, this moment, this choice, this action or avoidance." Marcus Aurelius called you out 2,000 years before you were born. Comment below, which line from the Meditations hit you the hardest, and why? Subscribe to Unique Vision.